sister, and every doctor that came to visit me told me not to look at my vagina. But that's exactly why I had to see it. And I was like, okay, this looks like
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Wired here. I hope you guys all have an excellent, wonderful day. And you might not after this video. I came across this TikTok compilation by Prana Tandra about trans child, I guess trans adult now, Jazz Jennings, who's one of the first people, or the youngest people, I guess, ever to transition, and has spoken out about some of the complications in part due to that young transition and how it's very negatively affected them. Now, I want to preface this. I have no hate towards Jazz Jennings at all. I think Jazz Jennings seems like a very nice person. I wish no ill will on Jazz. I hope they live a wonderful, happy, full life. All that type of stuff. I just think it's a shame how Jazz, at a very young age, has been pushed into this woke ideology pretty much without their choice, because I guess they started, when they were very, very young. One of the earliest, youngest transitioning people ever. And now they've received some complications for it. So I'm going to play this and then give my, analysis, my thoughts. And yeah, here we go.
accept the nightmare that I just went through, and hopefully I could come to a more positive place and just realize that it is what it is.
She has a long course ahead of her, but she'll go through a period where it's going to look horrible.
At this point, I feel like I care less about how it looks and just want something that is healing and working.
My mom, my sister, and every doctor that came to visit me told me not to look at my vagina. But that's exactly why I had to see it. And I was like, okay, this looks like
It's scary to look at it. It's basically like a wound right now.
I'm having phantom testicle syndrome. All my stitches came apart. I woke up where you could see flesh and just blood bubbles popping up. It was awful. It was so bad. It's healing now. It's looking better. Look, the scar right there.
Yeah.
I have that on both sides. It's crazy scar.
Well, it's a series of compromises from here. We can make that look much, much, much better.
Okay.
But scar-free, no.
But first, we have another interview with Juju Chang for ABC Nightline to finish telling Jazz's story.
What about the complication? How much do I talk about?
Not much, just kind of glaze over it and just
be like, yes, there was a setback, but
very rare, and just move on. Do not dwell on it, okay? Jazz tends to get very graphic regarding her surgical complications. And I'm very concerned that it might turn off kids from having this particular procedure, and that could scare their families as well. I'm really hoping that Jazz uses some discretion during the interview and just kind of doesn't go to places I don't want her to go to.
I feel like
In layman's terms, if you don't understand what it is, I don't really care about my child. I just care about the agenda and the narrative I'm trying to push so we can make money. Honestly, it's sickening. It's completely disgusting. I'm sorry, let's continue.
people should know what I went through so that they could hear the truth of my story and my experience. And it was a complication. I had to go back in for another procedure.
As I'm hearing bits and pieces of what's going on, I feel that it's going in a bad direction. Jazz is talking about all the complications of surgery, and it just wasn't what this was supposed to be about. I'm pissed off.
I did talk about the
Again, completely unconcerned about what their child is going through due to this harrowing procedure that they themselves have put their child in. Doesn't care about that at all. Just cares about the narrative. Want everybody happy-go-lucky so we can keep our TLC show. Despicable. These types of people should not have children. I'm really glad Florida's doing things to push back against this, and more states should. This is a very, very disgusting, sick thing to do.
complication that occurred, though. I said how, basically everything unraveled and that it was too tight, so the stitches came apart, and then I had to go back in for another OR appointment.
I told you not to do that. We don't want to scare people.
I don't think it's going to scare people. It's the reality and all
No, it's going to scare. It's going to
Ding, ding, ding.
definitely. There are parents that are watching that and being like, oh my goodness.
I'm sorry, I
'Cause
apologize.
I'm the one that's going to
It's
get
hard
phone
when
calls
you're
from
in a-
people
when-
and emails from people. Oh my goodness, is this going to happen to my child?
I experienced something major, and I can't just say, oh, it went great, everything was perfect, because that's just not true.
Wow. Yeah, so you heard that straight from the mouth of Jazz Jennings here. And like I said before, excuse the noise in the background, I got the Wikipedia page pulled up here. I know a little bit about Jazz Jennings. Jennings, born in Florida, parents Greg and Jeanette. Older sister Ari, older twin brother Sander and Griffin, family Jewish. Jennings explained Jennings is a pseudonym, blah, 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 blah. Jennings was assigned male at birth and was diagnosed with gender dysphoria by age 4. Repeat that again. Gender dysphoria by age 4, making her one of the youngest publicly documented people to be identified as transgender. Jennings made it clear as soon as she could speak that she was female, supposedly anyway, and that the family presented her publicly in gender-neutral clothing. She wanted to be presented in feminine clothing. All right, well, I'm not going to say that's completely, I don't think if a boy wears a dress, that means they are transgender. I think children are children. They're going to experiment. They're going to do what they're going to do. And you probably won't really know until, puberty at least, I would think. At 6 years old, Jennings and her family began appearing on television to speak about the challenge of growing up transgender. At 6. So this Jazz Jennings, born in 2000, would be 22, 23 years old right now, has been on the public stage her entire life. And like I said before, I have no ill will against Jazz Jennings. I think what happened to her is a very cautionary tale. I think it's a terrible tragedy, actually. Because I think this person has been unduly influenced by people for clout. Their life has been sacrificed on the altar of woke ideology. And unfortunately for Jazz, there have been complications with this surgery, as there, normally are. And Jazz does not really seem too happy. Jazz has actually tried to speak out a lot about difficulties that, she's gone through. But her parents, specifically her mother, although I'm sure her father is just as much to blame, even if he's not as vocal about it, he's still going along with it, is just as much to blame. Because why? Well, they have a reality show. It's been going for years and years and years. They make money off of their 4-year-old son transitioning into a girl and getting a reality show off it so they can broadcast their progress to the world, whether that be all the horrors or the few benefits or whatever it may be. And this all started happening, as I said before. This gender dysphoria was diagnosed at 4 years old. It's absolutely sickening. It really is. Now, I'm not as, I would say, conservative as most. Honestly, once somebody becomes an adult, to me, then your decisions are your decisions. Whatever you're going to do, you're going to do. However, I am very firmly against this stuff being pushed on children. And I actually just had a video with the whole Budlight incident. It has been age restricted on YouTube. They're saying only 18 plus people can see it. There's no curse words. There's no hatred, bigotry in it. Just a compilation of people, protesting Bud Light. YouTube age restricted that. They say this is hateful. This is bigotry. This is misogyny, transphobia, all that type of stuff. When it's just people speaking their minds and me giving my commentation on it. Yet for some reason this is allowed. Jazz Jennings, who's obviously had a lot of complications, a lot of problems, and whose mother and father, I think, are both evil people. And, my heart really goes out to Jazz. I think I can't even imagine. You got to be so confused all the time. You're never sure of yourself or what to do. You're being handled your entire life. And in such a way that you've done irreversible damage to your body. And even if you want to get out now, it's too late. And that's just really sad. It really is. like I said, I have no hate for Jazz at all. I hope Jazz can live the best life she can live. But I just think it's sad how she was sacrificed on a woke altar for parents who saw dollar signs instead of a child. Anyway, that's all I got. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you guys all in the next one. Sorry, I know this one's a little more doom and gloom, it's a little more depressing, but yeah, I guess it is what it is. Anyway, don't go woke, folks.